It's July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. Imagine standing in the middle of the vast desert at night, the silence only broken by the occasional howl of the wind. Then, out of nowhere, the sky erupts. Lights streak across the heavens, followed by a thunderous crash. By morning, the ground is littered with strange, unearthly debris. Rancher Mac Brazel stumbles across the wreckage, and the world's most infamous mystery is born. But what really happened? Was it aliens, a military experiment, or something even more sinister? By the end of this video, you'll not only question everything you thought you knew about Roswell, but also wonder just how much of the truth is still hidden. Let's start with Mac Brazel. He wasn't a UFO enthusiast or conspiracy theorist. He was a rancher trying to make an honest living. The wreckage he found was unlike anything he'd ever seen. Metallic strips that couldn't be bent, sticks that wouldn't burn, and foil-like materials that snapped back to their original shape. Here's my take. If the government claims this was a weather balloon, why on earth would it have such bizarre advanced materials? Weather balloons are, quite literally, balloons. They don't come equipped with self-healing metals or hieroglyphic symbols. Something doesn't add up. If this was a weather balloon, it must have been designed by aliens themselves, because I've yet to see NASA release a balloon that can defy the laws of physics. But before Brazel could even wrap his head around the discovery, the military swooped in. What were they so desperate to hide? Here's where the story takes a suspicious turn. The military initially admitted to recovering a flying disc. Think about that. They openly told the public they'd found something that wasn't supposed to exist. Then, almost as quickly, they backpedaled, claiming it was a weather balloon from Project Mogul, a classified program to monitor Soviet nuclear activity. If this was just a weather balloon, why release the flying disc story in the first place? Was it a mistake, or a deliberate move to muddy the waters? To me, this reeks of damage control. It's like when a kid breaks something and blames the dog. The cover-up is always sloppier than the crime. Let's be honest. If the military's excuse was top-secret technology, most people would have shrugged it off. But weather balloons? That's like saying Bigfoot is just a really hairy hiker. And it wasn't just the explanation that raised eyebrows. Witness accounts added a layer of strangeness no government story could erase. One of the most compelling elements of the Roswell story comes from eyewitnesses. Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who examined the wreckage, described materials he said were not of this earth. Then there's Glenn Dennis, a local mortician, who claimed he was asked to provide child-sized coffins. Even more chilling, he said he saw alien-like bodies being examined at the base. Here's my take. If Glenn Dennis was lying, he picked the most bizarre hill to die on. Why risk your reputation on something so specific, child-sized coffins, unless you truly believed it happened? And honestly, if the government needed coffins, wouldn't it have been easier to tell Glenn they were for a really small circus? Why involve him at all? But the strangest part? Many of these witnesses later retracted their statements. Coincidence or coercion? Now let's dissect the theories, starting with the most popular. The idea that extraterrestrials crash-landed in Roswell is the bread and butter of UFO lore. It's supported by the bizarre debris, the alleged alien bodies, and the sheer scale of the government's secrecy. I'll admit, this theory is tempting. If there's any incident that screams aliens, it's this one. But it also raises a question. If aliens were advanced enough to travel light years to Earth, how did they screw up so badly that they crashed in the desert? Some suggest the debris came from secret military experiments, possibly involving advanced aircraft or weaponry. This explanation makes sense, until you consider the eyewitness accounts. Advanced technology might explain strange materials, but alien-like bodies? Unless the military was experimenting with cloning or hiring really short pilots, this theory doesn't cover everything. And if this was experimental tech, I'd love to meet the guy who thought the best test site was a random ranch. Let's just toss this billion-dollar project over New Mexico and see what happens. Genius. Here's where it gets wild. What if the alien narrative was a deliberate distraction to hide other military projects? If this is true, it's diabolical. Plant the seed of extraterrestrial life, and suddenly no one's looking for spies, weapons, or other classified programs. It's like hiding a needle in a haystack by adding a UFO-shaped magnet. But even after decades, new information continues to emerge, keeping the mystery alive. In recent years, the Pentagon has declassified footage of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, objects that defy our understanding of physics. Some of these sightings bear striking similarities to the Roswell incident. Speed, maneuverability, and materials that seem beyond human capability. To me, this feels like history repeating itself. If the government is finally acknowledging UAPs, how much have they been hiding all along? And more importantly, what else aren't they telling us? At this point, I half expect the next declassified document to read, "Oops, our bad. Turns out Roswell was aliens after all." So, are these revelations the start of transparency? Or just another layer of misdirection? Here's the big question. If Roswell was extraterrestrial, what does that mean for us? Are we a science experiment, a potential ally, or a species to be avoided entirely? Honestly, I'm torn. The thought of aliens is both thrilling and terrifying. What if they're peaceful? What if they're not? And what if we're just too insignificant for them to care? Or worse, what if Earth is just their version of a reality show? Coming up next, humans discover fire, again. The Roswell incident isn't just a story about UFOs. It's a story about our curiosity, our fears, and our endless quest for answers. Whether it was aliens, secret tech, or something else entirely, one thing is certain: the mystery of Roswell will never truly die. If you're fascinated by history's strangest mysteries, check out our next video on the Dyatlov Pass incident. Who knows what secrets lie buried? Click the link now and keep the journey going, because the truth isn't just out there, it's waiting for us to uncover it.